I've been thinking a lot about where inspiration actually comes from. Where do I find inspiration? Where do other people find inspiration? And here's what I keep coming back to. Garden design inspiration doesn't necessarily have to come from other gardens or even from plants. Some of my favorite inspiration comes from totally and completely unexpected places. And so today we're talking about where I find inspiration. And this isn't necessarily about trends or what you should be doing. It's more of a celebration about the things that light me up creatively and how I turn them into actual garden work. Welcome to the Relish Gardens podcast, where we have conversations about the intersection between the garden and your life and how all of those things are intertwined. How to care for your space, how to prune, basically everything that's related to the design, development, and keeping of a garden. I'm Claire Liddell Hanna, the founder and lead designer at Relish Gardens, where we build, design, and maintain beautiful gardens. Let's dig in. In the new year, we have this tendency to be like, I'm going to redo everything. I'm going to redo this, then I'm going to redo that. Next year, my life's going to be perfect. I did it with my calendar already this year. I do it every year. I always have to pull myself back. There's this tendency to wipe the slate clean. I think there's a lot of inspiration coming at us this time of year. It's like how to do this better, how to be better. What does this year look like? All of these trends are thrown at us at this time of the year. How do we filter through all of the inspiration that comes at us? Gardens are personal, intimate spaces where life happens and memories are built. They're more than just a copied Pinterest page. A home and a garden, they're both kind of representative of the people that live in those homes, and they are intimate and sacred places. I think as we're looking through developing new spaces in the coming year, it's a good idea to think about where inspiration comes from and to not discount the things that we love or the people that we love in the pursuit of perfection for another year. Gardens are spaces that evolve that you design for, in 4D. You're designing for time. When we're designing, I think that the people and the animals, everybody who calls that space home should be reflected. And so when I'm working with a client, I like to look at their house. I like to look at what they've chosen to put on their walls. I like to think about what they see from the inside looking out. I want to see the views and the perspectives. I definitely draw a lot of inspiration from what people like. The question becomes, how do you take what someone likes and turn that into a garden that's actually interesting or something that feels unique to them? And here's what I don't want to do. I don't want to build a garden that could belong to anyone. I want to build a garden that feels special and unique to the people that live there, the things that they enjoy. Pulling those elements out from what people have chosen to surround themselves on the inside of their home is a great way to build a garden that will feel unique. When I'm looking at somebody's home, what I'm looking for is clues to tell me what they like. Because oftentimes, if you're not in this industry, you don't always have the vocabulary to say what it is that you like. I'm looking for inspiration on how to develop a garden that feels unique to them. And the way that I do that is through the things that they have curated in their own home. It's a great jumping point. I think Pinterest is a great tool. I use it all the time. I usually use it as a way to have people show me what they like without having to identify the elements that bring it together. Because sometimes people won't be able to articulate, I really like curvilinear shapes, or I really like a really full aesthetic. They might not know that about themselves. And sometimes through the process of pinning and pulling these pictures together, you start to see it's trend building, right? You're seeing the thread pull through from all of those different pictures that they've pulled together. You can kind of look through somebody's Pinterest album. You can kind of pull together what they continue to pin. The process of breaking down inspiration is a skill that is built over time. It's the ability to identify colors, shapes, lines, those that are unique, that you're uniquely drawn to. And they're not the same for everybody. People like different things. Once you start having people compile, say, a Pinterest board, you start to see a through line. And it's that skill of interrogating what you're seeing, not as what it is in order to copy, but seeing what it is in order to pull those elements out. So I'm seeing a lot of curvilinear shapes and I'm seeing lots of color. I'm seeing a lot of flow and movement in the gardens. Or, conversely, I'm seeing really tidy hedges and I'm seeing a lot of straight lines and boxes and squares and tight shapes. These are very different garden aesthetics, and y- you can play with them how you want, but at the end of the day, these are just kind of clues to show you what it is that you like and what your style is. Building this process of interrogating what you like or practicing thinking about what are the elements of a full concept is just a skill that you have to build over time. And instead of just letting that thought go, you go, well, why is that interesting? It's getting in the habit of interrogating why something excited you or lit you up a little bit. Taking a step back and going, okay, well, what am I seeing? Is it the way that they put shapes together? Or is it the way that the color was connected? Is it the way that the lines are flowing? Is it the contrast? Is it the lack of contrast? And I think the ability to identify what it is that really excites me from all of this inspiration and then make it my own or develop it for somebody so it's theirs and it's representative of them and what they enjoy. We're looking for ideas that we can reinterpret within our own context in our own gardens, and that's what makes something unique. It's not copying it line for line from somebody else's work, but looking at what in that picture is the thing that really excites me? Because it's not probably the whole thing. You're not gonna just, like, pick up their whole garden and put it into your space. It's not just a copy paste. I think you can build a really interesting garden 3 different ways. One way is to collect a lot of different and rare plants that nobody else has. Gardeners, we become collectors, right? Because we want that thing that nobody has. We all want to see plants that we're not familiar with that just lights us up. The other way is to take plants that we see all the time and use them in an interesting way. And then there's the combination of the two where you take the mundane plants, you use those in an interesting way, and then you add in specialty plants or items or things that kind of elevate the garden. Sometimes that takes time, but I think that's what makes the most interesting gardens. Gardeners are always looking for new plants to be excited by, for something to spark their interest, to see something that we haven't seen before. And once you start thinking about and acknowledging those elements that you see everywhere, you realize that you can kind of just translate almost anything into a garden. I find inspiration in a lot of different places, not just in the garden. I'm inspired regularly by pop culture with the color palettes that are developed. It's such a fast paced, moving target that it's always changing. It's always kind of giving something new to look at. I'm inspired by new home decor. I'm inspired by food. I'm inspired by the murals that are popping up on the street. I'm inspired by textures and shapes and the stuff that we see every day and the life that I live around me. That is inspiration. I'm inspired by art. I'm inspired by books. I like this book, The No Maintenance Perennial Garden. One of the things I thought was really cool about this book is that he builds a planting plan for different pieces of artwork. So there's Van Gogh Garden with Flowers, and he breaks it down into all the different types of plants that he would use to build this particular garden based on this piece of artwork. He goes through Monet and Pissarro and Renoir. I think it gives you an understanding of the different ways that you can kind of interconnect plants and how you can grow them in a way that works in a lot of different contexts. I would not have expected that that's where he would get into with no maintenance perennial garden. When I picked up this book, that it was not what I was looking for, but that was just a really lovely surprise. I'm always looking at other mediums. I think that any sort of medium will give you inspiration. I'm always thinking about how are other people stacking bricks right now? How are other people putting pavers down? Is there different ways to do this? Could I think of a different thought? What about quilts? Quilting essentially is just laying fabric together in a way that you could also lay stone together. I'm always paying attention to something that will spark my interest, patterns that I see, colors I'm seeing pop up over and over. I don't even like cars really. They don't interest me at all, but I'm definitely interested in what new colors have been chosen because those colors drive trends. Trends are just inspiration in a broad sense that's been developed communally. I love waiting to see what the Pantone color of the year is going to be. Those colors do inspire people. And so you see Pantone color of the year, and then all of a sudden everybody starts kind of adopting that. And then consumers see it placed over and over in all these different places. And then all of a sudden we're like, oh, we liked that. And then we just kind of go along with it. Because I think seeing stuff over and over and over, it breeds familiarity. There's a reason why everybody painted their house gray at the same time. I think creatives, we're not looking for something that we've seen over and over and over. We're looking to create something new that people haven't seen, or at least not recently. I mean, everything's been done before. The only thing that's new is the way we change or combine or rearrange the same things. It's like, you go to Taco Bell and they have the same ingredients, but they just rearrange it in different ways over and over and over. So it's like, would you like a tortilla, meat, cheese, beans, nacho cheese, rice? Okay, you could build a burrito. Now we're going to take the taco and we're going to wrap the taco in a tortilla. And they're like, you know what we got? We got this new item. It's Crunchwrap Supreme. It's amazing. But essentially it's the same thing, right? The food scientists are like, oh, what if we combine this? And then we can combine this. Then we'll just take the same 10 ingredients and we'll just redo it again in a different way. Maybe this one will be the next Crunchwrap Supreme. I think you could totally take something as mundane as a Taco Bell menu item and you could design a whole garden. So I'm going to do something kind of ridiculous here. I'm going to pull up a Taco Bell menu right now and I'm going to talk through what I mean when looking for the elements that you can pull through for your design. You're not going to make a Crunchwrap Supreme in your garden, but you might use these elements to develop a planting plan. Also, Taco Bell is not sponsoring this, which is unfortunate. Really, when you break it down, we're just looking at color palettes. Some of them are less exciting. Actually, honestly, some of the blander types of food on here would be a lot more monochromatic and a lot more modern. But if you were going to use the Black Bean Crunchwrap Supreme, that has multiple colors. You have black beans and this orangey nacho cheese, lettuce, red tomatoes, sour cream. So to me, this makes me think of late summer before fall hits. It's that time of year. So you have red, white, green, black, and yellow. Automatically, what I think of when I see any combination of black and yellow is Rudbeckia, the black-eyed Susans, and then an orangey nacho cheese color, as everyone does for their gardens. That's usually what I'm looking for when I'm describing a garden is I'm really looking for like this beautiful orange nacho cheese color in my garden right now. I'm really drawn to this shade. Some of these agastaches, these like peachy agastaches, you could really translate that very easily into this nacho cheese color. I think that's so pretty. The sunrise yellow one, I think that's pretty close. I love it. This is ridiculous. I think we definitely need some flowy grasses. I think that would be really good. Mimic that ruffly lettuce texture that we're seeing. I think Imsonia grass, because I feel like that looks like the lettuce. And then this gets that color during the fall. It does get these little tiny blue flowers, but I think you got to allow yourself some room to play sometimes. And then also when it's not in bloom, it has this like really lovely green texture to it. So I think we could definitely pull that in. I'm not sure if we should use the wrapper as part of the inspiration, but very angled form, triangles, squares. I think that a Abelia kaleidoscope would kind of fit into our color palette. It's got like the little white flowers. It has like these reds and it has the greens of like the lettuce. I think that could totally fit into our color palette. There's a couple different ones. The Abelia grandiflora, the Funshine, that one could go in there. That has a little bit more yellow. I could make a argument that that particular Abelia has that kind of the browns and the cream from the tortilla. Could totally work. So what I do is I pull a lot of different things in at the beginning, and then I'm like, "Oh, that could work, that could work, that could work." And then usually what I'll do is I'll edit from there. This could be actually like a really pretty garden. Sometimes when we're looking at creating a new space or we're developing a space or even, planting a pot out, sometimes it can feel like that blank page that you're looking at. There's this idea that you put a mark on a page just to get you started drawing because once it's marked, you don't have to fear messing up. I think people are scared of letting their minds wander into territory that is not design specific. And so I think sometimes doing a silly exercise of looking at something as mundane as like a Taco Bell crunch wrap and pulling out the elements that you're seeing and playing with how to develop a garden can kind of get your creative juices flowing. When you take any item and you break it down to its basic elements and you take a step back and you don't look at a thing or an item or a material as it is and look at it as inspiration, you're going to be looking at the colors, you're going to be looking at the textures, you're going to be looking at the shapes. And those are the things that really inform a design. Inspiration can come from anywhere. I mean, you could do it from a shoe. You could build a whole garden based on a stack of Post-it notes. Anything can act as inspiration. You just have to play with it a little bit in your head and move it around a little bit. It doesn't have to be a literal translation. And honestly, it shouldn't be. Otherwise, it's just copying. When you observe these design characteristics and then you implement parts of them in your own way into your own space, that's where you come up with something truly creative and interesting that's unique to your own space. I hope this inspires you to think differently about where your own inspiration can come from. Pay attention to the things that light you up, whether it's a painting, a meal, a piece of fabric, whatever it is, and see if you can kind of pull those individual design elements out and translate them into your garden. Just taking the time to work through this process can be a really fun and interesting way to think about your garden in a new way. Once you start seeing inspiration as color, texture, line, and shape, I think it'll really open up a lot of options and fun ways to kind of play with how you develop your garden. That's it for today's episode of the Relish Gardens podcast. If you love this conversation, make sure to subscribe. We've got new episodes every week. And if you know a gardening friend who'd love this, send it their way. Sharing the show helps grow our little garden loving community. Until next time, I hope you find something in your garden to truly relish.